There's a guy scrolling on his phone right now. His battery is low, his motivation is lower, and his patience with life is almost gone. TikTok. Swipe. Laugh. Instagram. Swipe. Compare. YouTube. Swipe. Escape. Notifications dead, messages dry, plans non-existent. Someone passing by would think, he's unproductive, losing time, wasting potential. Funny thing is, if he were dressed up at a cafe clicking pictures of coffee, that same person would call it living life. Welcome to the contradiction factory, society. If you're not showing proof, nobody believes your life has value. If it's not posted, it didn't happen. If you didn't share it, did you even experience it? Schopenhauer predicted this before smartphones existed. Humans would eventually value image over essence, not who you are, who you appear to be. That quiet kid in a room, they assume he's lost. Truth is, he might be the only one not pretending. Because here's the first punch of this philosophy. And it's not comfortable. Most people don't want happiness. They want distraction strong enough to forget they're not happy. A man will work 5 days. At a job he hates to enjoy 2 days that go by too fast and call that life. A woman will post angles and filters to convince others she's confident because she doesn't feel confident without their reactions. You don't chase goals anymore. You chase reactions to goals. The proof of happiness replaced the experience of it. And here's the darker twist. You didn't choose this. You were trained into it. Growing up, praise was a reward. Attention was a currency. Approval was the trophy. Parents posted your achievements. Schools ranked your worth. Friends judged your choices. Every environment shaped you to believe that the real win is how people react, not how you feel. That's why satisfaction is short-lived. You're not chasing peace. You're chasing validation. And validation expires faster than the excitement of receiving it. The loop begins early. Kid gets good grades. Applause. Teen gets attractive. Attention. Adult gets promotion. Respect. But when applause stops, self-worth collapses. When attention fades, self-confidence evaporates. When respect disappears, identity dissolves. It's like building a house on public opinion, and public opinion is a storm. You're always one mistake away from going from inspiring to irrelevant. Schopenhauer said it brutally. People don't admire you. They admire the advantage they get by being near you. When you benefit them, you're valuable. When you stop, you're forgotten. Check your own life. Loyalty is louder when you're useful. Remember the friend who disappeared the moment your problems weren't entertaining. Remember the cousin who only calls when they need something. Remember the coworker who stopped being friendly once competition began. That sting you feel isn't betrayal. It's revelation. Modern life has reverse-engineered human connection. We're more accessible than ever, yet more replaceable than ever. Reply late and someone gets offended. Don't respond, and someone unsubscribes permanently. Don't agree, and they label you the problem. Communication became cheap, so relationships became cheaper. Now here's where the loop grips harder. You try harder to be valued, more helpful, more interesting, more available. But the more you give, the less they respect it. Human psychology is twisted this way. People value what's scarce, not what's loyal. Availability is mistaken for desperation. Silence is mistaken for weakness. Kindness is mistaken for submission. Schopenhauer wasn't pessimistic. He was precise. He viewed desire as suffering and approval as addiction. Look at your day. How many things do you do because you want to? And how many because you fear falling behind? Jobs you don't like, conversations you politely survive, photos taken to prove you exist, friends kept because replacing them seems awkward, dreams abandoned because failure looks bad, jokes laughed at because disagreement is uncomfortable. You call it being social, but deep down, it's being edited. Life has become performance review. Every move judged, every choice compared, every achievement measured. You run not for the destination, but because stopping makes you look lazy. You post not to share, but because disappearing feels like failure. You buy not because you need, but because owning less feels like losing. The system isn't broken. This is the system. The loop rewards dissatisfaction, because dissatisfaction keeps you spending, scrolling, working, pretending. If people woke up satisfied, most industries would collapse tomorrow, and society knows it. Why do you think trends change every 6 months? Why phones upgrade every year for problems you don't have? Why relationships end over attention rather than compatibility? Why peace feels suspicious when it arrives? Because satisfaction kills the economy of distraction. Here's a brutally relatable example. When you were young, you wanted a bicycle. You got it. Happiness lasted 1 week. Then you wanted a phone. Then you wanted a better phone. Then you wanted the lifestyle that phone represented. The desire upgraded, the satisfaction didn't. Same with relationships, same with careers, same with your body image, same with your ambitions. You weren't taught contentment. You were taught escalation. More. Next. Better. Faster. Yet the more you chase, the more distance you create between who you are and who you think you should be. That gap is anxiety. You scroll not to relax, but to mute the voice that says you're behind. But behind what? Behind who? Behind the illusion someone curated online? You weren't born chasing. You were conditioned to. You chase satisfaction because you tasted glimpses of it. Short, temporary, exciting moments that disappeared faster than you could process them. That first paycheck you were proud of. That first time someone called you talented. That one moment someone said they admired you. And like a drug, the first high becomes the standard you expect every time, but never get again with the same intensity. Schopenhauer's view was harsh, but accurate. Satisfaction is not the default human state. Restlessness is. If you've ever bought something expensive and felt empty the next day, congratulations. You've just witnessed the loop in HD. Why does the excitement die after achievement? Because anticipation is more emotional than possession. The dream feels better than the reality. Planning the vacation feels better than the vacation. Thinking about success feels better than maintaining it. Wanting someone feels more powerful than having someone. The imagination writes scripts reality can't act. When you crave something, your mind creates a fantasy. Full color, high resolution, flawless execution. Reality has flaws. Fantasy doesn't. That's why the rush dies. Not because you're broken, but because reality can't compete with imagination. Real relationships involve effort. Real jobs involve stress. Real goals involve patience. Real humans have flaws. Real life has friction. Fantasy? Fantasy has none. That's why people jump from person to person, job to job, trend to trend. Not because options are better, but because fantasy resets every time. It's not love they chase. It's the excitement of a new story. It's not progress they chase. It's the feeling of being ahead. It's not peace they chase. It's the silence of distraction. And when reality demands effort, responsibility, consistency, the excitement is mistaken for a mistake. So they restart. New partner, new phone, new goal, new excuse. The loop disguises itself as evolution, but it's repetition. How many times have you promised yourself, this year I'll change. This time I'll be disciplined. When I get that thing, everything will feel better. And sometimes you did change. For a week, for a month, for 5 days. Then the old patterns returned. Because the problem was never the goal. The problem was the expectation that achieving it would silence desire. Satisfaction isn't permanent. Fulfillment isn't final. Peace isn't a destination. They're moments, not states. Society, however, sells them as permanent achievements. Buy this and be happy. Earn this and be secure. Look like this and be confident. Post this and be respected. Yet the people with the most money still want more. The people with the best looks still compare. The people with the biggest platforms still fear silence. Proof? Celebrities with millions. Depressed. Influencers with attention. Anxious. Entrepreneurs with wealth. Empty. The loop doesn't end when you win. It just upgrades its difficulty. Now, let's address something most won't admit. You don't want success. You want the feeling you think success will give you. Validation, admiration, reassurance, freedom from comparison, freedom from insecurity. But success doesn't remove insecurity. It exposes it. The more eyes watching you, the more opinions about you. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. The more you show, the more they judge. You think being seen will heal you. Reality is being seen makes you paranoid. That's why the loudest person in the room is often the most fragile internally. Confidence isn't in volume. It's in not needing volume. Another part of the loop. You assume other people are doing better. You assume others are happier. You assume others figured it out. You assume you're behind. But let's be brutally honest. Most people are faking strength, faking confidence, faking certainty, faking satisfaction. People don't share their rock bottom. They post the rebound. They don't share the nights they question themselves. They share the mornings they pretend they didn't. You don't see their doubts. You see their highlight reel. So you compare your behind the scenes to someone's edited movie trailer. And you lose. Every time. Let's talk relationships, because desire hits hardest there. People want someone who understands them deeply, but don't want to put in the emotional work understanding someone deeply requires. They want someone loyal, while keeping options. They want honesty, but not the consequences of hearing it. They want commitment, as long as it doesn't limit their impulses. The loop lives inside relationships. Desire, excitement, effort, routine, boredom, doubt, escape, repeat. And each time, they call it a new chapter. But the title is the same. Only the character changes. If you've ever been replaced quickly, you didn't lose to someone better. You lost to someone new. Novelty beats quality in a society addicted to stimulation. Earlier generations stayed because they valued stability. This generation leaves because it values novelty. People don't fix. They switch. Jobs, partners, beliefs. Loyalty replaced by convenience. And those who love deeply suffer most. Not because love is weakness, but because depth can't compete with distraction. You feel too much, care too much, notice too much. Not because you're dramatic, but because you're awake. Awareness is painful in a world anesthetized by entertainment. You see patterns others deny. You sense distance others ignore. You detect lies they wrap in niceness. You feel energy before you hear words. Your sensitivity isn't fragility. It's intelligence with emotional bandwidth. But awareness comes with a price. You lose tolerance for superficiality. That's why crowds exhaust you. Small talk drains you. Forced smiles irritate you. Fake conversations anger you. The more awake you become, the more disconnected you feel from people who operate on autopilot. Schopenhauer saw this coming. He said solitude is a gift for those who understand themselves, and a punishment for those who don't. Loneliness isn't the absence of people. Loneliness is the absence of connection. And silence isn't emptiness. Silence is a space where your thoughts finally stop competing with noise. But here's the paradox. You want connection. Deep, meaningful, honest. You want loyalty, not contractual convenience. You want respect, not attention. You want peace, not approval. Yet the world rewards the opposite. Attention sells. Approval trends. Drama entertains. Noise distracts. So what happens? You compromise. A little at a time. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You agree with opinions that aren't yours. You pretend to be okay when something is killing you silently. You stay in circles you've outgrown. Not because you're fake, but because authenticity is expensive. The cost of being real today is misunderstanding. People don't dislike honesty. They dislike consequences. Tell the truth and you're rude. Set boundaries and you're arrogant. Walk away and you're disloyal. Choose yourself and you're selfish. The loop forces you to shrink emotionally so others stay comfortable. But shrinking doesn't create connection. It creates resentment. And resentment doesn't disappear. It accumulates. This is where the futility hits hardest. You keep sacrificing for peace, but lose peace through sacrifice. So here's the truth most people never face. You are running in a loop designed to keep you unsatisfied, unfulfilled, and permanently seeking the next fix. The world doesn't want you content. Content people don't buy, don't chase, don't break themselves proving something. The system profits from your restlessness. But here's where everything shifts, not when you stop wanting, but when you start choosing what is worth wanting. Not every desire deserves pursuit. Not every opinion deserves reaction. Not every connection deserves access. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. The moment you stop chasing everything, you stop feeling behind everyone. You don't need to quit life, quit goals, or reject society. You only need a filter strong enough to separate impulse from intention. Ask yourself, do I want this because I truly desire it? Or because I fear how I will look if I don't? The loop loses power the second your decisions are guided by clarity rather than comparison. And clarity isn't dramatic. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't get posted. It doesn't trend. Clarity is when you can sit alone without needing noise to approve your existence. Yes, you will lose people when you stop performing. Yes, you will confuse others when you stop explaining. Yes, you will disappoint those who loved the version of you that served them. But you will finally meet the version of you that serves you. You're not rejecting the world. You're rejecting manipulation disguised as fulfillment. You're not afraid of missing out. You're finally aware there wasn't much to miss. You're not alone. You're in the only space where real decisions are made. If there's one thing to remember, let it be this. Satisfaction was never meant to last, but purpose does. The loop continues for those who never stop to question it. But the moment you stop running blindly, the moment you choose direction instead of speed, the moment you choose peace over performance, you didn't exit life. You exited the loop.